So today on Project Shop, I'm getting back on these big old motors. We're going to process everything we have here on the table. Well, at least most of it. Some of this stuff I don't know if we're going to get to today, like stuff like this. I'm not even sure how that gets processed. We might have to cook it. So I don't know about that. But most of these I'll be able to just cut the cases off and split these with the stator wrecker and pull them out with the puller. That way we can get onto the big motor that's sitting outside. With Christmas and the holidays, I kind of took a couple days off from processing scrap, but now we're back on it. We need to fill the bin with copper. I set the scale up so I can tare weight my big bin. I'm going to utilize the big plastic tote because I don't think a 55-gallon drum is going to contain all this copper. Real quick, I want to address something I seen online. There's a lot of people making electric motor splitters and pullers and stuff like that. Some of the stuff was kind of sketchy that I've seen. I'm just going to say be careful out there. And as it goes for the blade, I've seen a couple different people, and the reason I'm making this is I seen Pratt using a log splitter, which is funny because I actually had the same style log splitter. You can buy them from Harbor Freight. I was originally going to make a second press with it. The problem with those log splitters is they have to be horizontal. The motor is literally bolted like to the manifold and to the cylinder, and you can't rotate it or the oil won't get it. But the blade, I want to discuss the blades for splitting, okay? Now, this particular blade here, I actually paid $500 for. This is what comes with the real deal stator splitting machines. This is the smallest one. And the reason I bought it is so that I can look at it, see how they made it, so that I can replicate it, okay? And the first thing you'll notice about this blade, it is very thin, okay? I'm actually gonna get my tape measure. So I've seen people using these big fat blunt blades. This blade at its thickest is not even a ½ inch, okay? And then it tapers. It's got a solid taper all the way down, and the cutting edge is like, you know, less than a 1/16. It's actually very thin, and there's a reason for it, okay? You want that thing to slide down in there and get in there in between the plates. You got to realize these things are glued together. And another thing, I've had comments on my videos about, oh, I should be using a flat blade or I should be using a concave blade. Here's the deal. You want to get the blade started in there, man. If you have a flat blade or a concave blade, you're going to be putting pressure along the whole thing of the motor. You're going to be putting too much pressure across the motor. You might just squash it, especially with these smaller ones. You want to get down in there with a little point and get it cut in. And then the angle, okay, if this is gonna, let me see if this will make sense. Once you get the angle down in there, okay, that thing starts coming in there. It's actually, instead of pushing straight down, which at the top is more, this is more important at the top and the start, okay? The angle, as it's coming in, is going to be pushing sideways into the, it's going to be pushing the coils into like the grooves. It's not going to want to push them out, you know what I'm saying? It actually, I'm telling you, a pointed blade, very thin. Now, the way this is designed, and I actually have a video where I replicated this, and it worked amazing. Man, we got some chips in here. Wow, that's a pretty big one. Hopefully we can get through all this, what we got here. I'm gonna have to make a new one quick. This is actually pretty, it's actually a multi-contoured, it's this rib here in the middle, it actually stays thick pretty much down to here. It's like beveled this way and that way, you know, and it stays pretty thick. It's tapered down, 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 and then like the last quarter of an inch, it really tapers in, you know? So you really want a thin blade, big taper, you know? You don't want a short blunt, like if you just put an edge on this big 1/2 inch plate here, man, you want to bring that taper way back. And then if you're using like mild steel or something like that, you want to like either get like a hard face weld. I think they make stick welding wire or welding sticks that you can like hard face something. Or I was reading somewhere where you could weld like old drill bits. Just put the drill bit on there and just weld all the way around it. You know, get it melting in and then grind your profile back. Get a hardened edge on your blade. But when you're splitting motors, man, I'm telling you, thinner is better, and long sloping tapers, man, that's what you need. I mean, this taper is probably 3 inches. It's not just like thick and then a little tiny taper, man. That thing is tapered way back. And this thing cuts through these things like butter. Anyway, I'm going to start tearing into this stuff. We're going to start with this big boy, get all this heavy steel off of it, and then it's going to be downhill from there. Okay, sorry if it's loud in here. I got to have these fans on for some airflow. So we're going to start off by unbolting the ends of this thing. And today we have an absolute arsenal of tools at our disposal. We have a big hydraulic cutter jaw. We have a spreader jaw, we got a bandsaw, we got an air chisel, we got a sawzall, we got a plasma cutter, we got big grinders, little grinders, we got acetylene oxygen torch, and we got a 100-ton press with a bunch of removable jigs. So we should absolutely have no problem recovering all the copper from here. And then we can move on to the big monster sitting outside. Not sure how we're going to do that one yet, but we'll figure it out. Even if we have to use the old when in doubt, burn it out method. Sometimes there just ain't enough room for power tools. Woo! Wow. That's kind of heavy. It's got a huge bearing in there. That might be worth trying to recover. Is that copper? We got some copper plates here. Now we can take a look at this thing. Looks to be about almost a 1/2 inch thick. Now unfortunately we have more of these bars. So to get this off, it's like the weld goes back to about where that is. I need to cut down, across. I basically need to cut these, cut all these things off. It's like a nice little chunk of copper in there though. So I don't know if the plasma cutter is going to do this thickness. I think I'm going to save the plasma cutter for all the thin stuff and not burn it up. And then all the thick stuff I'm just going to hit with the torch and be done with it. Okay, I finally got that off. Man, that is a battle to get that stuff off. Now, this is the third one I've done with these bars that are welded to the stator. Like these small ones, they're pretty much, it's just a case and there's a couple spot welds. Very easy to get out. These ones, this one here, probably just cut it and it'll come off. These, not so easy, but I've learned a couple things. One, you don't have to cut notches on all of them, okay? Some of them, what I was doing, as you can see, I was cutting these notches, okay? The reason I do that is it's hard to get the torch down in there, okay? So what they have is, you can see it's welded all the way on one side. It's like they put them bars on first. They weld them, and they tack them on the one side. That's how I was able to peel them back. You don't have to cut. I wasn't cutting that long weld. I was just cutting the tacks and knocking it back with the hammer or my adjustable wrench. But they have the ends welded. So what you have to do, if you can get your torch up in there and cut up on an angle back like that, and separate the bar from itself and burn out all the weld here, then you only need to make one cut. You don't need to make those two lines, which, you know, when you're doing these things, time is money. You don't want to be wasting a bunch of time. You don't want to be wasting a bunch of gas making a bunch of extra cuts. I wanted to process all the stuff that needed to be taken apart. We got one more to go. Now, there was a couple things in here that, after taking them apart, I doubt that it'll be something that I take apart in the future. I might just sell it off. I'll create like a electric motor pile that's not worth processing. And I think this is going to be it. This, and possibly this one here that came out of that Bosch drill. This was like a, not an angle grinder, but one of those vibrating cut-in things. We had a bunch of these. These need a little bit more work. Plus, I want to pull some bearings off of here. And then we have all these. I'm going to sell them as iron aluminum. Which, this is heavy, man. This piece here. Nice little nugget of copper in there, if we can get that out. The way that's bent, I might be able to use the press for this. We might cut one side off and try to pull it out. I don't know. I don't think this would be worth trying to split. These solid bar, they're like solid big chunks. I don't even know if it would split it. This here has another nice chunk of copper in it. Now, I've seen some cool videos. A guy on YouTube, he actually left a video on my old Facebook channel about pulling this off. I'll probably save those. Yeah, unfortunately, just like all these other motors, just got a big hunk of crap in the middle. Wow, look at the size of that bearing there. Problem with this is there's nowhere for it to blow through because of the stators right there. See, you can't burn it on an angle. There we go. Oh. Nice. Big old nuggets of copper. Whoa. All right. Moving on. Let's try this aluminum one. If not, we'll have to hit it with the, and this looks like the same thing. There's no gap, so I don't know if this is going to work. I don't even know if it's going to cut the aluminum. Tell you what, that made for a nice little light show. Probably should have picked a better place to cut that. Turn on some fans. See, these ones here, my machine will actually crack that cast. I'm pretty sure that's copper. Yep. Okay. Check. Oh, we got good gaps on this one. This will be easy. That's what I'm talking about, man. Man, plasma cutter is a must-have tool. Oh, is this loose? Wow, that's a first on a generator steer. Man, we just knocking them out over here. What do we got left? Okay, of course the GoPro got hot and shut off, but we're making good progress. We pretty much got most of this stuff liberated. This one here, we had a little internal fire going. Oh, hey, we're still burning. Okay. This one seems a little problematic. They may have welded the ends. So I'm gonna hit the time lapse, probably hit that with a grinder, do a little exploratory grinding, see if that helps liberate it. Okay, this stuff here is a mess. Now, a rotating table is definitely the way to go. And I got to give a shout out to this channel called My Empire of Dirt, or Empire of Dirt, or something like that. They do a lot of AC compressors. He has a solid system set up for opening these up. The way he opens these up is by far one of the best homemade setups I've seen. Basically, he just, what I did in here, I cut all the way around the bottom, up here, and then around. Now, where you make them cuts is actually pretty important. And then he put a self-tapper and had a cool little thing to pick the things up, so he can just smack them down. Definitely, he's geared up for it. We're just getting geared up for it, but we'll get there, man. We're gonna have a solid system here soon.
I watched a Indian guy, I mean, they had what looked like thousands of these things, but they were cutting, I think, these off, or they were cutting something off of these, and then they recovered silver, man. They poured a big bar of silver.
Wow. So I literally had to take off the forklift extensions that probably weigh 100 pounds or more and move that thing as close as possible, because it was literally teetering. It did not like that. I felt things flexing that shouldn't be flexing. So I think this thing is rated for 2,900. This thing I know for a fact weighed like 35 or 34, so we were well beyond its capacity. But she did it. She didn't like it. And I think these chains are out of adjustment. I had to adjust them because I think one side was picking up harder than the other. So there you have it. Now, when that thing was inside there, the dude down in Miami, he couldn't even move this thing with his forklift. We had to drag it sideways, then we had to drag that out of it and move it basically how you see it here. So, oh, and these straps here, I'm pretty sure these have like a, when they're slung like that, yeah, when they're in the U, it's 10,600 pounds this will pick up. So just one of these straps will pick up that whole thing, which is pretty incredible. Pretty sure this is the same strap, I hope. Yeah, 10,600. Okay, well, now that we got them here, we got to do something with them. And I could start loading my trailer. And I got to inspect it because she was crying when I was carrying that one. But she hauled these no problem. I'm hoping, see how thick that is? I'm hoping I get 200 pounds. It's got to be a lot. But I'm hoping this stuff, I'm hoping I could just cut one end off and get my hydraulic jaw in there and just push that thing up. What I might do is I might cut it here and utilize these bars coming out of here as leverage to pry that up. I don't know, we'll figure it out. I'm gonna go get my basket out of the road before someone hits it. All right, we're all set up here. We literally have this thing maxed out on its highest setting. It's kind of crazy seeing that thing way up there like that. I was uncertain of whether we were going to get that in there, but there's actually enough gap. I'm going to have to put this up on blocks to start splitting it. And hopefully our thing that I fixed holds. That's kind of sketchy. If y'all remember way back, the bottom of that cylinder, which pulls up on this, was only held in by a rubber seal. And then I put a metal snap ring in there, and hopefully it holds. We got our AC compressor lube. Now, we have some, we broke the tip off. Pretty interesting. And we cracked it there and cracked it here. I'm just going to go ahead and take this little flappy pad abrasive wheel and just give this thing a little freshen up here. See if we can't put a little edge back on this thing. All right. This clamp is awesome. If you're doing any welding, I highly recommend these things. They are way better than them stupid turn clamps. It's so small next to this thing.
All right, had a little interruption. Pepperoni and regatta cheese. So, I'm gonna take another break, eat that, and we'll be back. Okay, here we go, big boy Stator. Give this thing some lube. Man, I think that's the toughest one I've ever dealt with. Now, we gotta get that out of there. Now, the problem is we are way up on these 4x4s here. I'm gonna just drape this chain right there so this thing doesn't roll off. Okay. Oh, that one's in there real good. So I've been really thinking about the big blade that I want to make. I have a really thick piece of steel, but now that I see what's going on here, I think the thinner the blade, the better it's going to be. I'm just going to roll this way a little bit. That thing another swab of lube, but that lube definitely helps. Whew. Look at all that copper up on there. We're getting there. Now, I believe This is better than cutting the end off and trying to pull it through, even though it takes me a little bit to do this. Once I'm able to do this in one shot, this is going to be easy, man. We're not even going to be sweating breaking these big things down. Alright, while that's up, I'm going to actually raise the 4x4. I need to push up and keep this thing pushed up as hard as it can go. Ah, I can't. There's a beam under the way. All right. I don't like this thing rocking around. I think that contributes to me cracking that blade. Now, I'll tell you what. I know why in all them videos you see them Chinese people, they put a big plexiglass thing in front of this thing. That was making me nervous when that thing was kicking in low gear and that 100-ton cylinder was moving real slow, man. That thing was putting some pressure on here, dude. Here is where we need to go. Woo! She did that like a champion. Okay, we got a little splinter. I should probably be wearing gloves. This is really sharp metal. Okay, here we go. Ah. Other than it getting off a little bit, that might have been where I started. I don't know. But that first little bit, man, it was putting some pressure on there. Yeah, it was pushing on them metal things. But, man, that thing cuts through that copper and steel like butter. I was worried about these little welds nicking up my blade, but I think we're all right. So I'm gonna get this out of here. We're just gonna work our way down. That one's next. I'm gonna have to lower the machine down, which is good because the problem with, I was going to use the jack to jack up onto the bottoms to push this up so it doesn't rock around. Problem is, I got a beam right here. Now that I'm gonna lower this down probably at least one, if not two notches, I'll be able to jack that up and then we can come down straighter with the blade. So I'm gonna get this dialed in and start splitting all these.
I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard.
Dancing. You ever seen a copper dance before?